Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're totally flipping the script on how we navigate our daily choices. We are diving into a seriously fascinating concept: how to systematically decouple our decision-making process from the actual outcome. We'll be pulling some brilliant principles right from former professional poker player Annie Duke's experiences at the card table and applying them directly to the high-stakes game of real life. So get ready to change the way you look at the world.
I want you to start by picturing one of your deepest certainties right now. Maybe you're absolutely positive a certain stock is going to skyrocket, or you're just sure a project you're working on will be a massive hit, or maybe you know exactly how an upcoming election is going to shake out. Now imagine someone walks right up to you, looks you dead in the eye, and asks three simple words. Want to bet? Suddenly, the whole dynamic shifts. Okay, let's dive into this. Those three little words brutally expose our natural biases and change absolutely everything about how we view our own assumptions. You see, as humans, we kind of naturally walk around feeling incredibly confident in our beliefs. Before our assumptions are ever really challenged, we operate with an almost absolute initial certainty. We feel like we're 99% right. We think we've got all the facts, the perfect intuition, and a crystal clear view of how the future is going to unfold. Honestly, we just don't naturally look for flaws in our own logic.
But think about what happens the exact moment someone asks us to wager a significant chunk of our own hard-earned cash against that exact same belief. Our certainty instantly drops. We might plummet from being 99% sure down to, say, 75%. Why? Because the literal threat of losing forces us to pause, take a step back, and ask a highly critical question. Wait, what information am I missing? What does this person know that I don't? We start to vigorously vet our assumptions, and that adjusts our beliefs to be way more accurate and grounded in reality.
So let's jump into Part 1, the poker player's formula and calculating expected value. Now that we've intentionally lowered our certainty to a much more realistic level, how do we actually move forward and make a choice? Well, this brings us to the mathematical antidote for everyday uncertainty. A pro poker player knows they don't need to be 100% sure to take action. If a decision just has a positive expected value, it's definitively a good bet. Let's break down a deliberate Texas Hold'em scenario here. Imagine you're in the final round of betting. There's $150 sitting in the pot. Your one remaining opponent bets $50, bringing that total pot up to $200. Based on your careful observation, you figure there's a 40% chance they're bluffing. To find your expected value, you literally just take that 40% win probability of the $200 reward, which gives you an expected value of $80.
So the crucial point is this. Your $80 expected value is substantially greater than the $50 it actually costs you to call the bet. Because that expected value is higher than your required investment, calling the bet is the mathematically correct decision. Period. Even if you call and they flip over a winning hand and you lose that specific round, you should still be totally confident in your choice. Because if you made that exact same decision in that exact same situation a million times over, the math guarantees you'd consistently make money in the long run.
Moving right along to Part 2, real-life bets and factoring in opportunity costs. Because out here in life, our resources aren't just little plastic poker chips, right? We're talking about our hard-earned money, our incredibly limited time, and our emotional bandwidth. To make really confident choices with those resources, you can use this highly practical three-step formula. Step 1. Determine your potential reward, which, remember, could be financial or it could be totally emotional, like just having more life satisfaction. Step 2. Gauge the likelihood of actually getting that reward. This is exactly where you want to plug in your newly adjusted certainty from our earlier wanna bet exercise. You got to be totally honest with your percentages here. And Step 3. Assess the specific resources required to make the attempt.
Let's use a super simple comparison to really nail down that critical third step. Say you're deciding whether to go watch a movie. The resources required are 2 hours of your time and $15 out of your wallet. But calculating your true expected value means profoundly understanding the opportunity cost of what else you could do with those exact same resources. Instead of the movie, you could spend those 2 hours and $15 taking an online guitar lesson, grabbing coffee with a mentor, or maybe just paying for a music subscription that brings you joy for an entire month. If the expected value of the movie outweighs the expected value of all those alternate opportunity costs, then, hey, go ahead and grab the popcorn. It's mathematically a great bet.
Which brings us to Part 3, process over outcome and evaluating your wins.
This is perhaps the most important mindset shift of the entire explainer. completely separating the objective quality of your decision from the actual, sometimes wildly unpredictable outcome it produces. Look, you can make a brilliant choice and get a terrible result, and you can make an awful choice and just get really lucky. Take this fascinating anecdote from the source material about poker legend Phil Ivey during a tournament. Back in 2004, Ivey had just won $500,000, absolutely smoking a star-studded final table. Now, a run-of-the-mill player would have relished the massive victory, probably spending the whole evening bragging about how perfectly they played. Not Phil Ivey. He skipped the self-satisfying celebration entirely. Instead, he spent his entire dinner with a fellow pro aggressively deconstructing every single potential playing error he might have made on the way to that victory. He cared obsessively about the process, not just the massive trophy.
Now contrast Ivey's rigorous process with a haphazard decision maker. This is someone, maybe an erratic stock investor or a careless business owner, who makes choices based purely on a gut hunch without actually doing the research. Sure, they might occasionally get lucky and make a quick profit. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate danger. If you don't critically assess your process, getting lucky just reinforces your faulty judgments. Judging your decisions only when you get bad outcomes is practically a guaranteed way to set yourself up for absolute disaster in the future.
Let's bring all these incredible core teachings together so you can actually start applying them right now. 1. See every single decision you make as a bet against your own finite resources. 2. Vet your assumptions by imagining someone is challenging you to wager real money on your beliefs. 3. Calculate your expected value by factoring in the likelihood of success and your opportunity costs. And 4. Analyze all your outcomes, especially your wins, to continually refine your process. Remember, if you consistently make high-quality decisions over the long haul, you basically ensure your ultimate success, completely neutralizing the noise of short-term luck.
I want to leave you with a counterintuitive yet highly provocative challenge today. Find 2 mistakes in your next big win. The very next time you secure a major victory, whether that's in your career, your finances, or just your personal life, I urge you to pinpoint at least 2 specific things you did wrong along the way. Find those flaws, and then actually go admit them out loud to a friend or a partner. It's psychologically so much easier to admit your flaws when you've just won, and taking this specific action will permanently rewire your brain from being results-focused to being process-focused. If you start doing this, you aren't just guessing anymore, you're playing to win. So, what do you say? Are you ready to start thinking in bets?